All of time and space, everything that ever happened or ever will. Where do you want to start?
This dust is the densest organic material you can imagine.
Some sort of fast-dissolving poisonous dust.
It doesn't read like he was poisoned. Oh, Cordian waves.
Tracker saying.
He's saying... Think it'd surprise you, demons.
Hey, do you think they're here?
Not getting any life signals.
Stop it.
Oh, yeah, love it. Pakistan. Never been there before. Another one off the bucket list, long as there's no killer turtles.
Yeah, I'm well up for it.
1 hour. No interfering.
His time is soon.
How soon? Give him a day. Just give him this day, please. This is the best thing ever. Never did this when I was a man. Doctor, you and your jokes? Yeah, that's right. My references to body and gender regeneration are all in jest. Such a comedian.
I don't care about traditions. I don't care about respectable... Wait, you're a doctor, right? That's respectable. You could marry us.
Don't be ridiculous. I suppose I could. No, doctor? I haven't officiated a wedding since Einstein's. His parents didn't approve either. Non-denominational, though.
If you're...
Hello, I'm here with Tony again. Hi, Tony.
Hello.
So what'd we finish doing this week?
We watched the monstrosity called Doctor Who.
Yes. We watched stuff about demons in the Punjab and Clement Attlee. We hate Clement Attlee.
Who is that again?
He was the British Prime Minister.
Oh, yes, we're supposed to hate him.
Yes.
Cause...
Well, they didn't mention him by name, so... Yes, so Tony, what did we think of... I kind of fell asleep, but what did we think of this week's episode?
I am trying to gather my thoughts at the moment. I mean, this is the most un-Doctor Who thing, I think, so far.
Un-Doctor Who?
Yeah.
Okay, elaborate.
I think... Oh god, I don't know. I guess Doctor Who is a show that I expect to provide some sort of escapism. And, you know, when I watch the show, I want to escape from the realities of today or the past or all the political bullshit that's happening. You know, I just want to enjoy a science fiction show with silly monsters and great speeches and funny plot twists and that excitement of the show.
It was
none of that.
We had the partition of British India. We had religious strife, refugees, although they kind of come later.
Yeah, I mean, I'll try to summarize the episode, I guess. So we're on the border of Pakistan and India, or at least the border that was established.
The day before the partition,
yeah.
I believe, is when it takes place.
Yeah, and there's a wedding with that girl's grandma. I don't know her name. And
Yaz, we hate Yaz.
Yeah, with Yaz. There you go. That's her name. And then a bunch of Randys show up, and they call themselves the Witnesses. And basically, she's supposed to be married to this other guy, but now she's getting married to the brother, and then everybody gets pissed off at each other. Because apparently Muslims don't like the Hindu people anymore. And they get married, and then the husband dies, killed by his own brother.
Yes.
And then everybody cries, and the credits roll.
Greek tragedy.
Yeah, I think that's a good summary for the episode. What did you think, Chris?
I was bored. I was really bored. Well, basically, you've described everything that happened. I guess that there is political stuff in the background, but I think it probably went over most people's heads. Viewers, people in the comments, who really knows anything about the partition of India?
I mean, I'll be honest with you, I don't know it that well. I do know that there was an artificial border established between the two countries, and a bunch of people died. That's about it. So I'll definitely have to read up on that.
Yes. British India, Clement Attlee became Prime Minister, was it 1946? Yeah, 1946. Poor Churchill. But yeah, and partition of India was like one of his things. He did many things. Everybody, Google Clement Attlee. You have a lot to thank him for. In theory. Depends on your political leanings. I don't know, I was bored. It wasn't, to be honest, because it was under the surface and you'd actually have to research it, there wasn't a whole lot of political stuff in there. I figured they'd touch on the refugee issue, but they really didn't.
I think they kind of did, because the speech that the brother makes at the end, you know.
That is kind of true, yes.
Yeah, like about the whole Muslim love, fighting, blah, 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 blah. I didn't want to get into religious politics, but this episode kind of wants you to, I guess. Well,
that was the whole point of it.
Yeah. One of the first points that I brought up was, they make an episode about, basically it's very religion-oriented. It's, Muslim. And, interestingly enough, we haven't seen a lot of Christian characters or positive Christian
Muslim
characters.
and Hinduism.
Yeah.
Well, no, they would be the British that kind of caused this whole debacle. So just by it's kind of taken as implied. It's implicit rather than explicit that they are the Antichrist.
Pretty much. So I feel sorry for Graham just being there and apologizing for everything.
Well, that's his position in this new series. I don't know. So far, when I look at the episodes, this is the one that has gotten the least reaction of me. Period. Other than the fact that I'm bored.
Well,
but it's all the problems that were there are still there now. I dislike the 13th Doctor more with each episode. She's just beyond grating. Yaz is useless.
Another thing, again, just the whole thing seemed so phony and so constructed and so left-wing. I mean, just, let's see, where are the hijabs, right?
We'll use the word contrived.
Yeah, basically. I don't know that much about Pakistani Indian culture, but I'm pretty sure that in Muslim faith, women can't just, talk to some strange men, and they have to constantly cover their head. They can't, the young grandma was just pouncing about, her head uncovered, just talking to everybody, disrespecting tradition, what the hell. Let's not forget, this is 1947, right?
Well, I think they're on the India portion of Punjab, so it's, so I guess that kind of explains that away, sort of.
I don't know. Another thing, again, I've mentioned this before, this is pissing me off quite a bit, is that there's no questions asked. The doctor just shows up and everybody there accepts the doctor as just a thing. The clothes, nothing, her knowledge, why is she there? That's never explored again. They just kind of show up and they're like, oh, okay. And at some point, the grandma and everybody are doubting if Yaz is related to them and if they know them. And then that's literally forgotten in the next scene. It's like, oh, you guys are not actually relatives. Come to the wedding anyway. What the hell?
I was trying to wonder, just one thing I'm curious, did Chibnall give himself a co-writing credit on this episode? I'm just going to go back here and take a look. No, okay, so yeah, he didn't write it. It was the Vinay Patel guy.
Well, I think there was a lot of still Chibnall's style present, where basically there can't be more than 3 characters in one room. And I don't know why we have 3 companions, because in every episode, they're separated. So it's only 2 and 3, and that's it. He can never write coherently anything when they're all together in one room. They always have to be separated.
The thing I find funny about all 3 of them, we're 6 episodes in, and you don't care about them. You're like, yeah, okay, it's kind of like they're there.
No, because we don't know them. And another thing is, I guess, that I don't really care about the Doctor either, and the Doctor still hasn't been explored either. The Doctor's just accepted.
Oh yeah. Well, it's one thing I was saying. Okay, so we're in 1947. She's dressed like Pippi Longstocking, and nobody's answering questions. Although, actually, they did take a jab at her being British. So there we go. So that's where it was subtly inserted into the episode.
Yeah, I think they did that to Graham as well.
That might have been when I was nodding off. I think I almost nodded off during this.
Yeah, I had to keep you awake, Chris.
Yeah, no, I'm gonna have to watch this thing all over again before I do my in-depth review tomorrow.
And again, the episode seemed very, very small, and I think this has been throughout the series. There's no grandiose adventure. Even when we had the armed people coming, there was literally 5 people, and that's it. Like, they couldn't hire more actors to represent, an actual raid-looking mob.
No, maybe they couldn't afford them all.
It's so tiny. They lived on this land, and it's literally just one house and fields. Do they not have any neighbors? Do they just live on a field? Like, what?
Chibnall's trying hard not to be Moffat.
Yeah, I guess. But I mean, there has to be more characters, I think. And I've read this somewhere. A lot of people are praising him for making it more drama than science fiction. I don't know if that's a good thing, because I think, yes, drama is probably a little bit more accessible to a larger audience, but you're going to turn off a lot of science fiction people. I'm not here to watch a drama. That's what all the other shows are for. There's, I guess, EastEnders or whatever, or Downton Abbey, I'm not here to watch 2 characters.
Broadchurch.
Yeah, Broadchurch, there you go. It reminded me so much of Broadchurch again. And there's nothing wrong with, having a heartfelt moment, but not every 10 minutes in the episode. Again, I don't care. If you're not gonna properly develop the characters, I'm done. I don't like this. This is annoying. Please stop.
Well, they tried the drama during the Russell T Davies era with Rose, but then they toned that down. Well, Davies toned that down significantly for Martha and then Donna, although Donna was more comedic, less dramatic. And then outside of Rory and Amy, you didn't like. I think Amy's family, you met her aunt once in the first episode.
There was Rory's dad, I think.
Yeah, he was in a couple episodes. And Clara, we met her family once?
Yeah, when the doctor was
once.
naked, I think.
Yeah, that was a fun episode. We met her grandmother again too, but yeah, it just wasn't a thing. Although I think it's like one producer tries to do the opposite of what the first producer did, and what Chibnall seems to be trying to do, other than the political BS all over the place, is he's trying to redo the Davies era, but it's terrible. He's failing miserably.
Yeah, I don't know, and it's so inconsistent. Like, the whole story has big plot holes. One of the biggest things that stood out was as soon as they realized that the husband, or like the dude, is supposed to die, the doctor's like, okay, well, he's gonna die. Let's get out of here. Bye. There's nothing else to do.
Yes.
And Yaz is like, well, I wanna stay, and I wanna make sure Grandma's okay. So it's established that there's nothing they need to do, really. The time line.
I think the doctor forgot Father's Day.
Yeah. And then mid through this, the doctor's like, oh, I'll go with you, and basically tries to save the husband. And I'm just like, what are you doing? He's supposed to die. Like, what? Did you literally forget what happened in the previous scene? It's so stupid, and it's so inconsistent.
Did David Tennant give us a big speech about this?
I think he did. I'm trying
to remember which doctor was it that.
No, I think it's Christopher.
It was Eccleston.
Yeah, that was the Father's Day episode.
And then there was the fixed point in time that was Tennant, but then he just decided to ignore that anyway.
Oh, that was Waters of Mars, one of my favorite episodes.
Yes, actually, that's another discussion altogether. How they didn't take that arc anywhere really when it could have been cool.
Yeah.
So the guest actors again were shit. Just bad acting across the board again. Although you liked one of them, you liked young Yaz's grandmother.
I didn't like. I just said she didn't suck.
Okay,
which is
so they all
that's
suck.
an accomplishment for the show, I think, at this point.
It's the same thing. If I can see your acting, then you suck. Like the brother, the her husband's or fiance's brother, whatever his name was. Yeah, that was a little over the top.
A little?
And then there's the doctor again.
Oh my god, I don't want to even talk about Jodie Whittaker. Her face, her running was hilarious.
Oh, you mean when she's skipping?
No, yeah, when she was running through the daisies. You know, in the
Yeah,
field.
that was skipping.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah, that's...
Her facial expression is just, it's unworldly. It's not of this world.
Well, the way I describe what she's doing right now, it's a very bad mutation of Tennant and Smith. And when she stole David Tennant's line, "I'm so sorry," I'm like, oh, you suck.
Oh, she also says the word clever a lot. I think, isn't that David Tennant's thing?
More so, yeah.
Yeah.
It's, well, every doctor's had their own thing except for her. She's,
Well, Peter Capaldi didn't have his own thing. Kind of. Well, he said shut up a lot, that's about it.
Oh, no, I'm talking about personality. But yeah, each, until this one, they've all had distinct personality. This one is just stealing from previous incarnations, and it's like a bad Tennant Smith thing.
Just everything is just really sad and depressing. What did you think about the monster this week?
I think it was a case of, I'm doing this episode. Okay, we have to have a monster. Okay, we're going to throw in this monster. Okay, we're going to add some voice effects. We're going to make them look like Klingons wearing a dress. And yeah, they were pointless, actually. Like, completely pointless.
Yeah, they didn't serve a purpose.
See, here's the thing. Chibnall wants to do historicals. In the original series, because you probably haven't, I'm guessing you haven't watched the old episodes, well, from specifically the William Hartnell era. But what historicals were supposed to be is they were episodes that would take place during the time, like Marco Polo, which is one of the lost episodes, but it's one of the more famous ones. So it was basically pure historical there in the time frame. These are not pure historicals. It's like he has to throw in science fiction just for the hell of it, so it defeats the whole educational purpose in the first place.
But let's compare this, actually, with some of the... Okay, so the historical episodes are some of my favorite ones. I just like time travel into the past. That's my genre.
You mean,
that I really like.
You mean New Who? Like...
Oh, in general, but yeah, the new
stuff
Who,
like
yeah.
that. Yeah.
And let's look at, like, my favorite episodes would be Human Nature, Fires of Pompeii.
I was about to say that.
Yeah, Girl in the Fireplace, Unicorn and the Wasp with Agatha Christie, The Empty Child, Cold War. There's a lot of these, and every time it's really interesting to watch their interaction with the past, and kind of have that twist. There's that random wasp that Agatha Christie has to fight off, and then she forgets about it. So it's just really cool. The Girl in the Fireplace, again, it's a beautiful story, and it doesn't really, Girl in the Fireplace, it doesn't comment about France or the current political situation in France of the time. It just takes that single character and has fun with it, basically. Same thing with Human Nature. Yes, there's the war is about to happen, and it's briefly touched upon. It's not really commented on. And we also have Martha back there, and the whole racism thing is not the biggest focus. It's mentioned, but it's a thing of the time, and most of the characters...
Well, it was brought up because it had to be brought up, but it wasn't emphasized.
And most of the characters, it's pretty clear that the way they are is because of the time, and their minds, the positive characters, of course, their minds are changed fairly quickly when they interact with Martha or by the doctor. It's never the focus of the episode. And this episode, I didn't have fun. Same thing with the Rosa episode. It's not a fun episode.
No, it's educational. Well,
it's not even educational.
Well, no, it should be. That's what they're... But even when they're trying to include the educational aspect, let's say, okay, so Tony, so you don't know a whole lot about the partition. So, did you understand the background context at all from what they were doing in the episode, or was it just kind of, assumed that you knew?
Well, I think because it was basically assumed that I was supposed to know, but if I were to say that I didn't know anything, basically from this episode, I would take that, British bad, war is bad.
Yeah.
Muslims want to be friends with everybody.
Yes, and the
That's
refugees.
it. And the refugees. Everybody moved to Sheffield. You guys got good welfare there, right?
Yeah, there is that. Well, yeah, you can blame Mr. Attlee for that as well.
I mean, fuck. Yeah, this episode it was depressing. It was really empty. It was lazy. It was just in your face about everything. And it again touched on subjects that I feel that should not be touched by a science fiction show. You know?
Well, not without explaining the full background context.
But that
the
means
problem.
that should be a documentary or that should be in another show. I think it's something that doesn't belong in Doctor Who, to be honest.
No, because something like this you can easily mislead the audience, because the partition of India is a subject that was so complex going back half a century before it actually happened. So unless you know all the factors that went into it, and there were a lot, you're basically, it's just touched on the background. British were bad because British caused this.
And I think the topic of religion should be avoided like the plague in shows like Doctor Who, because it is controversial and people are going to have different opinions, and right now their opinion is being preached upon the audience. It's just awful. And the thing is, if you criticize something like this episode, you immediately are going to be labeled as racist or intolerant. But I mean, even if you take that whole thing apart, again, the episode just sucked on its own. Even if you take away the whole religion situation.
Well, it was a bad episode, but again, I think a lot of this is also symptomatic of the fact that the BBC is funded through the license fee, whereas, say, if this was anywhere on this side of the continent, outside of, the CBC, which nobody watches anyway, but say if this were in the States, any of the major networks, I don't think it would be this heavy-handed, because half the audience would say, basically, get lost.
And again, I don't want to see this crap. That's not what I want to watch TV for. If I want to watch something like that, I'm going to turn on a documentary, or I'm gonna read a book about it or an article. When I turn on Doctor Who, I want to have fun 45 minutes. That's it.
Well, the one thing that is also, I think, kind of funny is when back in the 60s, when the show was doing historicals, those were thrown out after only a few years because nobody watched them. Like, the ratings were significantly lower than, say, an episode that featured the Daleks. So it's like, well, it didn't work in the 60s, so it's definitely not going to work now.
But it's weird because I can't even call this episode even historical, really. It doesn't even, I don't know, it was just all over the place because it kind of focused on the marriage, and then it
didn't know what it wanted to do. I think Chibnall had a checklist of things that he wanted to cover, and he's like, okay, I gotta do something about Islam. Okay, here, just throw something together. And then there we go. Islam versus Hinduism.
Yeah, and again, okay, there's nothing wrong with showing perhaps a Muslim character in a show, but let's not make religion the focus, all right? Let's not paint them like that, because honestly, this was a pain to watch, knowing kind of the realities of the whole, of the real world. If you get a young woman say anything about, screw the traditions, fuck the traditions, she's gonna get stoned immediately. That's just the way it was. That was the way things happened back there. But so let's not paint the history like it was all beautiful, people were fighting for their freedom, blah, 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 love prevailed. No, terrible things happened. The British did terrible things, so did the Muslims, so did the Indians, everybody, there's dark pages of history.
Oh yeah, well, religion, regardless of what it is, the biggest crimes in history have been centered around religion in one way or another. At least until we get into the 20th century, and then we're looking at totalitarianism. But prior to that, it was, they were all religious conflicts. Well, you have to look at in terms of framing it, you have to look at the context of the BBC, where this is coming from. The BBC, right now, they hate white males, absolutely hate them. I'm going to be doing a video on this, but even I can send you some links of some articles that have been coming up. The Sun in the UK is actually doing a really good job of covering it. But basically, the way the BBC runs now, if you're a white male, you're not getting anywhere. And that's where this context is coming from, where it's like, these are the people that we care about now. I'm like, well, no, how about everybody is treated equally regardless of race, regardless of religion?
Well, see, what I was disappointed, I know this was set in Pakistan and everything.
Yep.
And
Yep.
It was 1947, but I was disappointed. So if you think about it, other historical episodes that we've seen, let's say they take in the past. There was Thin Ice or something like that. Any other historical episode, there's black people in the background doing stuff, even though they don't belong there. Like, I'm sorry, but historically, you guys weren't there just yet. That's just the way it is.
Well, Thin Ice, it was basically an entire episode contrived so Capaldi could go back and punch a racist. Also, so we could learn that Jesus was black.
Pretty much, but like what I'm getting at is, even if we go as far back as the Shakespeare episode in the David Tennant era, there's just once in a while there's just like black people that just show up, and like, okay, they weren't there. Stop it. I mean, if you want to put them in there, okay, then why weren't there any white people representing Pakistanis? Right? There weren't any white people there. So that's why you can't have... Just like there weren't any black people during Shakespeare's era. Like, there weren't that many. Just, they weren't part of the crowd, regular crowd. They were either servants or they just weren't there. So stop it. You know, if you want equal representation, then there should have been white warriors, like in that mob gang thing on horses. There should have been some white people there.
Yeah, although it's like in Shakespeare's time, like slavery was a thing, but it was never predominant in the British Isles the way it was in the US.
Is there anything that you liked about the episode, Chris?
Music, I didn't mind the music, except for the end. Why did they have to replace the credits again? The theme music was removed at the end. It looked nice. I still like Graham. That's about it. The Doctor was horrendous.
Do they ever call the Doctor, like, do they ever explore the fact that the Doctor is a Time Lord? I don't think the companions know that.
Unless they're trying to downplay
well, right now
that.
the Doctor just feels like a random chick in a Pinocchio suit.
I think it's more Pippi Longstocking. I'm just doing some research. Yes, so they're... the proportion of African Americans in the time of Shakespeare was very low. I'm just doing the Googling. Just going back to the previous...
I was just going to bring up another problem. This is just a pet peeve of mine in a lot of TV and movies in general. And it's just the whole thing that gets, you know, a character lies to another character. And they're like, oh my god, they lied to me. And they get all pissy and upset. Get over it. That's not what happens in the real world. People lie to each other, first of all. Second of all, it was your grandma's story. You know, she went through this. It was a stressful time. Obviously, her husband died the day after they got married. It's okay if she lied to you. Holy crap, get over yourself. You know, that's the whole thing. Like, people make such a big deal about when somebody lies to them. Okay, you know, what did you lose? You didn't lose anything. Yes, they lied. They probably had a reason. Try to empathize with them. Move on. Holy crap. You know, Yasmin just kind of like sits really lonely out there and it's like, oh my god, she lied to me. How could she do that? Holy shit. Have you never lied to your grandma? Have you never lied to your grandma? Tell me that.
We needed... Oh, I never lied to grandma. But we needed drama.
It's such a lame way to, you know, set up drama. Yeah, you're absolutely right. It's a lazy way to set up some drama when there is none. Yes, somebody lied to you. Boo-hoo.
Well, one thing that's kind of funny about this episode was because we're actually doing this the day after the episode aired, the ratings. So they came out this morning for this episode. So keep in mind, so these are, for anybody who doesn't know, so the way ratings in the UK work, it's a little bit different. They basically have what's called the overnight and then the final consolidated rating. So the overnights are the people that actually watched it as it aired. So the woman who fell to Earth was 8.4 million. So this episode, Tony, want to venture a guess?
5 million? 6 million.
5.77.
Oh, look at that.
So in overnights, over the course of 6 weeks, well, really 5, we've gone from 8.4 to 5.7. That's pathetic. Basically, what this tells me is about a third of people who watched the first episode have decided to hell with this. I think if I wasn't reviewing these, I probably would have stopped watching the season last week. Oh, and even on Gallifrey base, that you know, the forum that well, check out Professor Dinkles had stuff to say about Gallifrey. Oh, sorry, we're calling it Gallifrey Place in the video. But even them, last week's episode was, even on that site, was ranked the lowest of any episode since Matt Smith took over. So even they agree that it's kind of crap.
But okay, remember the Cold War episode where I think this was during Matt Smith's era, and they land on the...
Yeah, it was second last season with the Ice Warriors.
Yeah, and they land on the Soviet submarine, right? So, I mean, again, whoa, like, right, communism, bad, scary stuff. But the story is not about that, and they interact with the crew, and there's almost no political comments made about that. You know, it's just a random Soviet submarine where the story takes place, and it's funny because they're Russian, ha ha ha, and that's it. It just kind of goes off. Here again, oh.
Well, it's a background setting. It's not the focus.
Exactly. It just adds to the story. It's not the actual story.
Nope. But this is the reverse, where it's you have a very clear message, and you're just. I still think Thin Ice is the best example of how this was done badly. Where it was basically an entire episode contrived around the Doctor punching a racist. Everything else was just kind of thrown together. It was the same thing here. It was basically kind of a way of glorifying Islam, really. And that was the intention. So, Tony, if we were going to rank this one out of 10...
Well, it's definitely going to get a higher rating for me than the previous episode because, you know, the pating is not there. So I would give it a 1 out of 10.
Ooh, how generous. Okay, so I got I like Graham and I like the music and parts of it look pretty. I'm going to give it a 1.05.
What's the 0.5 for?
The 1.05?
Yeah.
Because I felt like, I don't even know. I'm gonna give it a 0.96.
You know, I just realized we're just basically rating different types of shit. You know, it's same thing if you put, you know, a cow turd in front of me and a horse turd, and you're like, how much would you give this one and how much would you give this one? That's literally what we're doing right now.
Well, it's
like your shit cracker analogy.
Oh yes, the shit crackers. Yeah, people like that too. Well, I think so this series is 10 episodes long. We've now had 6. The first one, the Doctor regenerates, boring as hell, with Tooth Monster. The second one, the one with the race, I barely remember a thing about that. It was so forgettable. Rosa, I'm pretty sure people want to assassinate me for my review on that one. Then we had the episode with stand-in Trump. Then we had Pating, and then we had this. This is the worst series ever. I didn't think anything would be worse than Series 10. No, Series 10 is brilliant compared to this. I could marathon Series 10 rather than watch a single episode of... I don't even want to watch the next few episodes. Well, Tony, I think we've exhausted everything we can talk about with this episode, given that there really, to be honest, wasn't a whole lot there.
Yeah, and I know we did probably say some controversial things in this video, so hopefully we don't get crucified.
Well, no, I'm going to get crucified anyway. I've got my own thread. I've got, 2 hashtags. One was No More Bulls Trek. I believe someone was Kill Off Bulls Trek was another one. I got parodied again. It was yesterday. So somebody did another parody video of it. Some kid did a rant about me. Oh, it's freaking hilarious. The world hates me. And I don't care. That's the funny part. I really do not give a shit. But Tony, maybe they'll say mean things about you, and then, you know, you won't feel left out.
Oh, that shit's always fun. That's the stuff I'm looking forward to.
Well, some people are wondering if you even exist, or if you're just me throwing my voice.
Oh yeah, who am I? Let's keep
Oh
this a
yeah,
mystery.
that's right. Oh yeah. Okay. So, yeah. So we're gonna keep Tony's identity a mystery.
I'm your inner voice, Chris. That's what I am.
Oh,
You're
there's
talking
some
to
interesting
yourself.
threads going on in the last video. Yeah, that's what I do. Well, no, that'd be Professor Dinkles. Well, then I guess that's it for today. So, Tony, until next week when we talk about Kerblam. Okay.
All right, keep the hope alive.
And as always, everybody, thank you for watching and have a great day.